the trending sounds. We were kind of early to understanding how important trending sounds are to marketers. Anytime I'm demoing that or training a customer on that, I always get the whoa factor when I show it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Beyond Social podcast, the show where we go behind the scenes on how we're building an awesome tool for marketers. I'm Reggie, one of your hosts. Today's episode of Vitaly and I are talking about some of our favorite SMM tool features, social media management tools. I've got some favorites, Vitaly. I think some of the ones that I use most often.
I do too.
And I'm excited to dive in.
Awesome, let's do it.
So I guess kind of to preface, right? I don't manage other brands. I have helped in the past. But right now it's really been about, building my personal brand. So a lot of the features that I've been using has been to kind of help make that a little simpler. I do work full time. Right. I work real hard. And so making sure that my life around keeping my personal brand posts consistent is important.
Sure.
So I want to talk a little bit about the queuing. Can I talk about that one?
Sure. But I think before we maybe jump into, if I may, let's kind of maybe introduce the spectrum of features from which we're choosing. That way it kind of maybe is framed. I think for those listeners who are using SMM tools, it all is going to make sense, but I just want to maybe spend a little bit of time just defining the space. So we are building, Vista Social is an SMM product, meaning that brands, agencies, businesses, small and large, use Vista to manage their social. They connect profiles, they schedule content, they reply to conversations. For that reason, they run reports, they even monitor reputation, they run the advocacy programs. We have quite a bit of stuff. Obviously, the product is full of features that has to do with scheduling of content, that has to do with responding to the conversations like comments and DMs. That has to do with finding reviews, building link in bio pages, running reports. So a lot of features are dealing with that problem space or delivering on that. And in this conversation, I guess we wanted to highlight not just any kind of features, just the features that we feel are interesting and maybe unique to some extent and are exciting. I just wanted to kind of make sure people understand that the features that we're going to cover are not the only features the product has. It's just the highlights of the ones that are kind of creative, interesting, perhaps unique in some cases. So
maybe you'll learn something new if you're listening or watching. Maybe you haven't heard of it.
Awesome. So you want to talk about queuing?
Yeah. So I guess with scheduling in general, right? Most of the time, a lot of the agencies, brands that I've spoken to, they have some sense of, maybe we call it content pillars, right? The things that they're posting that could probably be organized into 4 or 5 categories. It's happening on a weekly basis. It's either going to be like educational or funny, or it's promoting their product or their brand, right? Or the service that their client offers. And more often than not, they've created some sort of schedule that fits within like funny things on Tuesdays and promotional stuff on Thursdays. And the reason I really like queuing, which by the way, it's a system where you really get to categorize your type of content and have a system like Vista Social automatically load your posts up into the right day, the right time without you really having to think about it. It's a big time saver. So if I'm working on my funny content for the rest of the month, I can just load up 4 or 5, say Vista Social, hey, these are all my funny posts. And it just knows, okay, this one goes to this Tuesday, then the next Tuesday, then the following Tuesday, based on what I've set up. And I think when you combine that with the fact that we have optimal times, analytics within Vista Social, right, where you can understand based on engagement, my profile, these are going to be the times that are going to give you the more oomph for your posts. You can really tie that into those cues and build those in a way that's going to give you the best chance of having really engaging posts.
Yeah, I'll add to that. There are also implications for the speed, right, with which you operate. So if you have those predefined times, especially if you operate across multiple customers and multiple brands, you can have predefined times for each client. As a matter of fact, we have it down to every profile within the client, which you then, these time slots for each of those profiles, you derive them either from your A/B test requirements or maybe from the best time analysis that we offer. And once you have those time slots defined, your scheduling becomes that much faster, because now you're scheduling instead of having to think okay, so have I scheduled enough for this week? Should it be for next week? Is there like maybe a hole in my schedule this week? Like, you don't need to be thinking about any of it, right? So you simply add to the queue and it simply finds the next available slot. And if you're working in a team where you want to make sure that one of your team members doesn't accidentally schedule something at 2 a.m. versus 2 p.m., that problem is solved as well. Just have everybody just add to the queue. So it's a tremendous time saving too, and very important for agencies as well. Plus, it gives you a very consistent way of A/B testing. So that week we were running according to that schedule. The following week according to the other schedule. Now we're going to compare. I want to talk about the planner and the ability to visually plan content for Instagram, for TikTok. So we all are used to Composer as a way of scheduling, whereby you say new message, your window comes up, you type in your text, and you attach an image, you customize the post, and you pick the time, and you're done, right? But ultimately, that doesn't, even though we have a post preview and most tools do, it doesn't give you the holistic view of your grid on Instagram or the view of your TikTok feed or anything like that. The visual planners, they do give you that ability. So you literally open up like a phone within your app, within your, within the tool, within Vista in this case, and then you visually drag the images or videos, and that's it. And you just press the button to schedule, meaning that you are scheduling like visually without needing to go through like on a post by post basis, and you kind of see the order in which they're going to land on your grid, and you can like reorder them on the grid. Which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it helps with the aesthetics. I know that's really big. You look at some brands' aesthetics on Instagram, and like you see the color palettes, the seasons changing, everything is fall,
certain sort of sequence in which they are posted.
Right. And having that visual planner, I think, is easier than having a calendar, or even just like the Composer, where in the network, or maybe for a brand where aesthetics is very, very important, the way their feed presents itself. Having that visual planner is key. But I think also, it does tie into the queue that I mentioned, right? Because as you're dragging and dropping things in, you don't necessarily have to choose the time.
Yeah, you don't choose the time. You simply throw that in, and you can either queue it on the end of the queue or you queue it on the front of the queue. Yeah, absolutely.
So approvals, I know we did an episode recently about how to win and keep customers, and getting customers engaged is a big part of that, right? Mm-hmm. So I love how we've done a lot of the collaboration functionalities for teams, agencies that need to be able to collaborate all within one platform. The reason I love it, I kind of two-part. One, we've done a lot of work to ensure that you don't really need to have 4, 5, 6 different tools from ideation all the way through to the end when the post gets published. Everything we've tried to really combine to have the entire life cycle of the collaboration live within Vista Social. So client gets onboarded, and for the first couple months, maybe this is just a client that really wants to be involved. They can actually be a part of the approval process. I'm writing the content, I'm sending it out a week in advance, and the client's being able to see things, can approve, add comments, engage. But beyond that, right, being able to go into a post that's already finished, it's already published, it's a week later, and maybe add a note. Hey, this performed really well. Can we do a little bit of a deeper dive or analysis on this and connect next week to see what's working there? So I really like some of the collaboration features we have.
Collaboration is absolutely key, right, to a successful social media management. And I think the workflows and approvals are important because that sort of creates very clear boundaries and very clear controls on how content goes from ideation to actual publishing. And a feature that's related to that I also find very, very valuable is ideas, meaning that you can have a collaborative experience with your team or with the client even before the post becomes a post, right? So it could all start with an idea, and then subsequently with people collaborating on that content, leaving notes to one another, communicating even within the post, it sort of matures, it evolves, and then subsequently becomes the post. And what's also cool is that we've seen the ideas section kind of used almost as a content library. So in a situation where you are dealing with teams, let's say maybe a client or an internal team that wants to come in and they're looking for some inspiration as to what to publish, or they're using some content they can just go with, they can simply go to the idea library that that is maintained and simply pick a post from that to schedule as their own. We also have an AI connected to that, where we can literally generate ideas specific to your brand based on a variety of factors. So yeah, so collaboration, the workflows that you pointed out, but also the ideas as they kind of create that very safe space of creating content without necessarily risking it to be scheduled or even taking it that far.
It's like a brainstorming space, like a really unstructured environment that lets you just collaborate on what is this going to look like? Whether it's like, hey, I'm going to attach a couple of video examples. Here's a link to a post. Like, yeah, I love that. Really gives you that brainstorming environment to get something to that state where like, okay, I think we've got a post now. Let's add it to the calendar. So it kind of gets you that way. And on the sense of like finding content or trying to create content, the smart scheduler I really like because it can help you. Well, one, figuring out what to post about. Sometimes in your industry, it's important to get your audience to understand what's happening in your industry, whether it's news, it's changes in legislation, it's changes in the way that the industry is operating, right? I mean, let's talk about mortgage interest rates changes, right? We've been seeing that fluctuate over the last year. And so being able to use something like a smart scheduler where you can plug in a news source and say, hey, I want real estate news or whatever news that might be, business news, and I want that to be published once a day or once a week, according to my publishing queue, have that loaded up. But I think even more powerful than that, brands who have a blog or agencies whose clients have blogs, being able to put in the blog URL and have Vista Social take any of those blog posts as they come in, as they get published, and automatically schedule social posts from it. It's pretty cool too.
Yeah, and to add to that, not only can you just pull from certain sources like specific blogs or industry, sources, you can also filter it. Like not every post, but only those containing certain keywords. You can paraphrase it using AI. So you can do so much with it to really make it not just a repeat of some news and whatnot, right? But to actually create compelling content, as we sort of always talk about. As it relates to this notion of having to find content, I think a broader find content option that we offer, whereby you can go out and find an individual image or a royalty-free video or a nice animated GIF or even a news article, or even you can go out and find a trending Instagram post done by somebody else to then use that media elements within that, right, in your post, like reposting or resharing that content. I think that's also tremendous. If you have any sort of writer's block or you're looking for like a quick win of just scheduling a bunch of things, go in, find content. You're writing a piece of content about coffee in Toronto, your favorite example. Right away, just go in, type in coffee, type in Toronto. You'll get a bunch of images. No AI, just straight royalty-free images. We have Pexels and Unsplash connected. So right away you can get those, and we have news sources connected also if you wish about coffee. So I think that find content is a great complementary feature to the smart scheduling. So smart scheduling is more around about more automated kind of flow of data versus find content is one-off, right? You want to go in, find a few pieces of content, throw them into the schedule using queues potentially to kind of make that even faster.
Yeah, it's almost like a suite of discovery, right?
Correct,
it's like a suite of different tools that will help you to discover and find content. I really like that too. The trending sounds. I know we were kind of early to understanding how important trending sounds are to marketers, and I mean, maybe not early in understanding that it's important, but early to developing something that would help them to pre-plan their posts for Instagram, for whatever network, and use trending sounds. And so I really like that. Anytime I'm demoing that or training a customer on that, I always get the whoa factor when I show it. Basically, we have a repository. It's curated by our marketing team on a weekly basis where we have loaded up trending sounds from Instagram. And you can actually apply them to your video as you're creating your post within Vista, so that when it gets published, the trending sound is attached to it. Obviously, beyond that, it is something that's curated by us. We found a lot of customers like, hey, I've got a couple of trending sounds that I have in mind. I maybe didn't find it in the library. We have our browser extension that lets you, within a couple of clicks, just open up Instagram and save that trending sound to the Vista Social library, so you can use it for your videos too.
Yeah, and you can also upload your own. And I will go on record here. We are the only tool that offer ability to attach sounds to your media. And to build on that, imagine a situation where you want to produce a more interactive piece of content, such as the video, with a sound, but at the same time, you don't have time to actually record a video. And for that, we have the smart media item in the system. And essentially, it allows you to create a visualization of your message by controlling, it's a square or it's a rectangle or with the text inside. You can control the font and you can post that as an image, or you can turn it into a video and attach a trending sound. So you can almost you can post like a little postcard with a background graphic, with a message in the middle, with a trending sound. And I think I misspoke. I called it a smart media. I think we call it a dynamic media, right? So the dynamic media feature is also quite complementary to the trending sound because it allows you to quickly and easily create more interactive pieces of content. For example, you can quickly post an image with sound of your choosing to TikTok, even though that maybe is not a best of examples, because as of recent, we are able to post to TikTok images.
Right.
There is an option to attach trending sounds, but TikTok will pick the sound for you.
Right. Not as much flexibility.
So, but still the idea is the same. You can take what's static and you can turn it into something a lot more interactive. So I think dynamic media is a very well-kept secret, I think, for our users.
And I've seen a lot of brands who take like screenshots of their X, Twitter, whatever they're calling themselves these days, their posts, and they'll take a screenshot and it's like almost like this quotable repost as an image that they're posting. And I've seen a lot of brands who have realized I can do this so much faster with Vista, right? Like you set up that dynamic image or that dynamic video to kind of look like that Twitter feed screenshot.
Right.
And then quickly, as you're creating a post, the caption of your post is dynamically getting added to that image. So you're not having to recreate an image every single time. It's been really cool.
Awesome.
We've got a whole suite of AI tools, obviously, within Vista Social. I love when we released the GPT-4 integration, and alongside that, a couple months later, released the brand voice. So not only do we help you with the power of GPT-4 from ChatGPT, OpenAI's team, to craft your captions, but we allow you to kind of help with the prompt, help ChatGPT understand what is the tone of voice. So how does your brand sound? How do you present yourself? What are your goals on social? And so that every single time, automatically, without you having to get a degree in prompt engineering, whatever it is, Vista Social can help you to get that caption almost to its final state through that brand voice integration too.
No, AI is amazing. I know we can go on forever with features. Let me just do one more maybe, and I'm gonna call out Vista Pages. So how cool is that? You can have unlimited mini websites for your brands, right? All complete with custom domains, SSL certificates, all sorts of integrations like embeds of payment pages and calendars and links to the important profiles. And what's cool is that you can actually publish your updates to those pages, just like you can publish your Facebook updates or Twitter updates right from your composer within Vista. So that is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, for those who use that for BioLink, it creates a much more dynamic system where everything is fully integrated and connected. You're scheduling your Facebook post, your LinkedIn post, and that content's flowing straight into Vista Page. So there's that context around what's been created. Awesome. I love that. Yeah, obviously we could stay here forever, but those are kind of the biggest ones that we found are either our favorites or that we've seen people really love when they interact with it for the first couple of times. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us on the episode today. If wherever it is that you're consuming this content, whether it's we're watching this or listening, don't forget to leave us some feedback and share this content. If you have any ideas of topics you'd like us to cover, or maybe you want to join Vitaly and I for an upcoming episode, head over to vistasocial.com/podcast, and we'll see you next week.